Booz Allen is delivering mission-ready solutions, AI-powered, software-defined, and commercial-first. Combining deep mission experience with commercial partnerships, Booz Allen is defining a new defense industrial base, a network that crosses traditional boundaries to scale non-traditional technologies and brings our best tech to the hands of the warfighter faster, effectively delivering technology for today and tomorrow. Booz Allen, accelerating outcomes for today's warfighters.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Lewis. I'm the president and CEO of the Purdue Applied Research Institute and also helped found the Emerging Technologies Institute at the National Defense Industrial Association. This is our roving podcast at the Emerging Technologies Conference. And now I'm here with my very, very good friend, Paul Madera, who is an amazing individual, has had an incredible career, is an advisor to the Emerging Technologies Institute, member of the governing board, and also, I'm proud to say, is member of the advisory board for the Purdue Applied Research Institute, so serving dual role. So first, Paul, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. You just did a panel discussion on stage. Looking forward to talking about that. But if we could start, could you tell me about yourself, tell me about your career and how you got to where you are?
Sure. So I grew up in a Navy family. Mm-hmm. My dad had gone to Annapolis. My grandfather went to West Point. And I grew up around Navy bases, and I wanted to fly fighter jets. So I figured out as an 8th grader, the place to go to get the highest probability of doing that was the Air Force Academy. Mm-hmm. I applied in high school, I got in, and I went to the academy. I then spent 10 years on active duty, flying F-4s and then F-16s. And then I went off to business school on the West Coast and got my MBA. Went to Wall Street for a few years, worked for Morgan Stanley. My wife told me that she and the kids were going to be leaving New York, and I was welcome to join them.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
But they were going to be going. So I figured I better find another job somewhere else. Yeah. And I found one in San Francisco with another investment bank. Went out there, worked for a few years, and then I had the chance to start Meritech Capital Partners in '99. And really, it was at the invitation of a few early stage, well-known VCs at the time, at Excel Partners, Oak Investment Partners, Redpoint, and what they were hoping to create when they invited me to kind of create this thing was a later stage firm. At the time, everything was smaller funds, early stage focused. And there was a group of companies that were growing up that didn't have quite enough capital to get all the way to a public offering, the ultimate goal of venture capital. So they thought about creating this later stage focused fund. Would write bigger checks into the more promising companies who weren't quite mature enough yet. So we started Meritech. We raised the first $1 billion venture fund in '99 and put that to work in companies out of those 3 venture capital portfolios. And then in 2003, we went independent. We've remained focused on doing later stage venture capital since that time. And I continue doing that to this day.
Fantastic. So could you tell us a little bit more about Meritech in terms of what technology areas you cover?
Sure.
How you work with the Defense Department?
Indeed.
All that.
So Meritech is we call it later stage, and that means Series C and Series D. Typically, those companies are 10 million in run rates, more or less, at the low end, and then up to 50 or 60 at the higher end. They're still several years away from being able to go public. They need more scale, more maturity at that point. We invest across all of technology. So we've actually done a little bit of medical technology, some ophthalmology devices. We have invested in some of the better known tech names over the years. Facebook and Salesforce, and
I've heard of a few of those. Yeah.
Roblox. By the way, keep buying those Robux for your kids. And
my kids are older, but
Well, for your grandkids. And so we go broadly, and we have recently started putting some money into some defense tech companies, but interestingly enough, there's been very little to invest in defense tech wise until recent years, and it has changed dramatically in the last few years.
So that's a really interesting point. Why do you think that is? What's changed?
You know, It's really a great question. I'm not sure I have the right answer. I mean, we go back 6, 7 years ago. We know about Project Maven at Google.
Yep.
Tremendously controversial within Google because Google was doing things to help the Defense Department,
Right.
and that just on the surface was objectionable to many of the Google engineers. Now, those of us with military backgrounds couldn't understand it. It's an American company.
Yeah.
They are benefiting from American security and so forth. I actually think it was a period of naivety. I think Google engineers who had grown up in privileged backgrounds, went to great schools, didn't know anyone in the military, didn't have a connection to defense. They just sort of assumed that was somebody else's job and not theirs.
Yeah.
I think the last few years, between global conflicts, between changes at senior leadership levels, and a realization amongst the venture capital community that the Defense Department is really finally interested in buying newer technology from startups and the venture community, that has transformed sort of all at once.
Right. No, and we see companies like Anduril, like Palantir,
Yes.
Stepping up to the plate.
Oh, and those are some of the hottest companies in our entire venture capital world right now.
Right.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I'm also impressed by the number of high wealth individuals who are putting their own dollars down in support of national security. I think it's a great American story.
It is indeed. Yes.
So have you looked across technology? You mentioned medical. You're dabbling in some defense technologies. What are the technologies that you're most bullish on right now?
Oh, well, AI is probably the biggest.
Okay.
It is probably soaking up half of all venture capital dollars right now. It's really remarkable. And it's being absorbed by only a few companies. I mean, there's kind of the big ones we all know, OpenAI and Anthropic, and there's 4 or 5 of those who are taking up the vast bulk of that AI capital.
Right.
And then all the rest of that venture capital gets spread out over so many other companies and so different kinds of tech.
So I've been hearing lately predictions of an AI bubble, that the promises might not quite live up, that they might have been hyped a bit. Does that concern you? Do you think it's going to deliver? Is it too early to tell?
Please don't play this back for my limited partners. But actually, I do think that's a real concern. Yeah. I mean, what is happening is we know these AI companies have giant, large language models they need to train. In order to do that, they need a lot of NVIDIA chips. They need a lot of electrical power. Right. They need data centers. They need algorithms to run. The algorithms are the cheap part. They're running the models, collecting the data, and processing it, which is an ongoing, massive expense right now, is tremendously costly. And none of those AI companies are yet selling their product for what it really costs them.
Right.
So the business model for many of these companies is yet to be fully fleshed out. Now, I have no doubt there will be a tremendous amount of benefit and ROI from these companies. What we don't know yet is what tasks it really will be affordable for. Right, and I think that's a big question. Right now, it looks like we do everything. It can't afford to do everything. We can't afford to continue to pay for those things forever. It's going to be a fairly smaller set of use cases.
It's the old joke: we lose money in every sale, but we make it up in volume, right?
Yes. That's good.
Yeah. So I love the topic of AI, because putting on my former defense S&T hat, I'll point to that as a technology that really got kicked off by the Department of Defense, and then industry took it and ran with it, and frankly exceeded anything that we were doing in the Department of Defense.
Wow.
And that was bringing it back into the defense.
Like so many technologies that the DoD sponsored early on.
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you, when I was in the Pentagon, we spent a lot of time thinking through what AI would do for us, and there were some very obvious use cases. And then, but we also found, it's funny, I'll tell you the quick anecdote. I had a principal director in charge of AI working for me, and first assignment I gave her was figure out what the department is doing in AI. A couple weeks later, she shows up at my office and says, this is an impossible question to answer, because so many programs had included AI on their roadmap. And some of it was real, and some of it was kind of the AI miracle that was going to solve all their problems. And we started joking about we're going to open up an AI store and sell cans of AI that can be sprinkled on any project. But still, there are use cases. You mentioned Project Maven, for example.
Right.
So what a great use case for machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So other technologies, quantum, is that in your portfolio?
Quantum's an interesting one. Quantum is kind of like self-driving vehicles. It's always 2 years out.
Right.
And,
right. And nuclear fusion, which is always 10 years out. Yeah.
Yes,
right.
That's right. So quantum actually is being funded by several large tech companies. I mean, IBM is, all the big guys have something going on in quantum. It is not perceived near term enough for the venture capital world to put a lot behind it. Tremendous promise. It's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
But as venture capitalists, we have to see a horizon to a return on capital before it makes sense to get into it. And we just can't see the end case there yet.
Yeah, no, I keep asking about use cases for quantum, and I think eventually we'll find a good list of use cases, but still yet to be fleshed out. Interesting perspective. So if I could switch gears a little bit, we are at the Emerging Technologies Conference,
right?
And we're as we record this, we're at the beginning of day 2. So I wanted to get your impressions of the conference. What have you seen so far that caught your attention, and then talk a little bit about the panel that you just chaired.
Certainly. So I just got here today.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I didn't participate yesterday. Today, I've gotten to see the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe. I got to see General Dan Kane's address. Both are motivational, interesting. They clearly help drive interest in the conference. They drive their mid-level management to participate here. And that's who really matters, by the way.
Yeah.
Those who are really doing the work, who are doing the procurement, doing the contracting and so forth, and the suppliers that we have here today.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would often smile with, I know folks who get a 4-star level meeting and they think it's going to open the doors. Like, well, okay, that's good, but you really got to talk to the folks who are really doing the work.
That's so true.
So yeah,
That's
I agree completely. And General Kane just did a phenomenal job. I had the privilege of working with him in the Pentagon, and he was.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So he was our SATCO. He oversaw the special access programs, and worked with him along with Alan Lord, another good friend, and he was just phenomenal. I mean, there are people in that world who can be barriers, and then there are people who are facilitators. He was a facilitator. Just absolutely phenomenal. So great to see him in that role. Tell me about your panel.
Sure.
You just concluded.
So we, this was actually, I call it the phase 2 panel. Last year we had phase 1. We had a number of venture capital investors on the stage.
I remember that panel. It was a highlight of the second conference.
Oh,
now we're in the third.
Thank you. And they talked about what venture capital is seeing in the defense tech world, what they put money into, why, how they evaluate, what criteria matters, what doesn't matter, and so forth. But venture capital funds are much smaller than private equity funds.
Right.
Venture capital funds write checks of anywhere between, $500K up to, now in some of these AI companies might be 100 million, but for most venture capital, it's from 500K up to 15, 20 million. That's the investment size. The private equity guys have funds that are 5-10 times as large, and they write checks 5 to 10 times as large as well.
Right.
And so we wanted to hear from them what they're focused on today. And we got several leading private equity investors, one from KKR, one from Cerberus, and a banker from Barclays to help talk us through what's going on in their world and their view of things.
I still remember it was a year ago, but that initial panel discussion, it's explaining the difference between venture capital and private equity. I found that very enlightening. Not being an investment guy, as my wife would tell you. But excellent. So what do you think were the most telling insights that we got from today's panel?
For one thing, I think the venture guys tend to focus on early tech very critically. They're looking for what is just developing right now, what has some promise. It's not proven, it's not a business yet necessarily, but they're going to fund those things to figure out if they can turn into something. the expectation is many of them won't make it. Many of them won't, but some will do very well and make up for those losses. Private equity guys are at the other end of the maturity scale. They're buying and investing into businesses that are already running. They're up, they're significant size. They may be generating bottom line profit, which we never see in the venture world, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're helping optimize the management, the supply chain, and certain aspects of an existing business.
Got it.
That's the biggest difference.
Got it. Yes, absolutely intriguing that we've got both ends of that chain. So, without asking you to give away all your secrets, your secret sauce, you've been wildly successful. What do you look for? What are the signs that indicate an investment is worthy?
You know, I get asked this question a lot, and I'm not very good at answering it. Mainly not because I don't want to, but because it's a very difficult question to answer. I actually draw on 35 years of being around small startup companies to get a sense for things that are promising and aren't. That's kind of my initial filter. But as I spend more time with things, I'm looking for some specific things. I'm looking for a management team that might be outrageously ambitious and crazy, actually. Some of the best outcomes that we ever invested in were led by kind of unusual individuals. They're out there on the spectrum. They are irrational.
I've met a lot of them myself.
There you go. They're probably not going to work for a defense company. I mean, they are out there doing things that the rest of their family tells them are a waste of their time and irrational, and yet they do it anyway. So I want to see that crazy ambition. I want to see a founder who has a clear idea of what they want to develop and has the ability, the charisma, go recruit people to work with them and bring it to life. And then I want to see a business, at least the start of a business model that looks rational. They have the right kind of gross margin. They're going to all lose money, by the way. They all lose money when we invest, but they at least have a business or a product they can sell for a positive gross margin, and they have a plan as to how they're going to scale out. The risk I want to take is not the tech risk. I want to take the market risk, the go-to-market risk that a great product that has a theoretically large market can actually get into that market and proliferate and beat out the competition.
How do you get to technical ground truth? I mean, how do you know that someone is pitching an idea that is grounded in science and physics and not PowerPoint?
Yeah. Well, as a later stage investor, I have an advantage over the early stage, who have to do a lot of that. Trying to figure out if the science is correct and the theory is workable. In our case, they already have some product that's in the market. So I actually can go to customers, and I can go to competitive product customers and ask them, what's the difference? How'd you decide? If I am looking at a company and the customer base feedback is primarily, well, it's kind of all the same, it doesn't matter, I'm not interested. If I go to one where I find buyers at a customer who say, I cannot do my job without this product. It is essential. If the company takes away, I quit. That's the kind of thing that I have heard on occasion. That's what I want to invest in.
Interesting. Paul, our time is almost up. My God, we could have this conversation. I could talk all day to you, but sadly, we'll be pulled off the stage. But in remaining moments, I'm wondering, any last thoughts about the Emerging Technologies Institute, the conference so far?
I am one who has gotten to work with you in the past, and watching how this thing has developed is tremendously encouraging as an American.
I get none of the credit. Arun Sarafin, current head of ETI, has run with this.
You got us started. Arun's doing a wonderful job. We love him. You got us going, and I'm very appreciative of that, both as a veteran and as a patriot. And it is fascinating to look at this and see it happen. We have a lot of work to do. The Defense Department is not ready to buy emerging tech very much yet. But there's a lot of pressure coming down. There's a lot of companies coming up from the venture backing world. And hopefully we're going to work on that large bureaucratic middle that has to learn new ways of buying and evaluating and bringing that tech in.
And we heard a lot of comments at this conference so far from DoD leadership that they seem to understand that, and
They do.
They're battling that bureaucracy. They're trying to take it down. They're trying to reformulate the way the Pentagon does business. So I think it's a convergence of
well,
forces.
this is the forum. This is the entity that is going to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, Paul Madera, thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us for the podcast, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.